the number one reason women stay in 9-to-5 jobs that they are burnt out, that they are sick of, that they are underpaid, overworked, and quite frankly, unfulfilled is because they have not yet learned how to monetize their skills of helping people. If you know someone who is stressed out, who's overworked, who's underpaid, who's going through a transition, who needs support in any way, that's your sign. Welcome, everyone. My name is Olivia Chapman, or Liv Chapman. I am the CEO of IGC Coaching School. We are giving an update today, our first live update ever, on what's trending in the life coaching industry in 2025. I have asked our Director of Marketing, VP Wright, you've probably seen her on our channel before, to join us because while I may be an expert at coaching and an expert of business, V is our expert on all things marketing, all things branding, all things content creation, especially when it comes to coaching. And before we even get into all of the trends and what the industry is looking like and projected to be in 2025, I need to say this and say it clearly. The number one reason women stay in 9-to-5 jobs that they are burnt out, that they are sick of, that they are underpaid, overworked, and quite frankly, unfulfilled is because they have not yet learned how to monetize their skills of helping people. That is why I needed VP here. She is the bridge to all of our students at IGC Coaching School to go from, I'm an amazing coach, I'm an amazing professional when I can help people, I can transform lives, and she helps our students find the right niche, package them, brand them, and make sure that you are easily able to market to the masses so that your offer is sold, so that you are actually able to do the work that you are meant to do in the world. The trends in 2025 are really, a lot of them are marketing related. The industry has grown and the demand has increased, and also the need to have a very clear, well-branded offer is exponentially increased since I started coaching 10, 12 years ago at this point. So we need V for this. Thanks for being here.
Of course, I'm here to help.
Awesome. So today we are going to cover industry trends, how to make money in the coaching industry, different career paths and projected incomes in those. And plus we'll be taking any questions as they come up. We do have some visuals, I think, that we can share, just different slides with stats that might be helpful as we're going through things. But this is ultimately what you need to do to be successful this year. We're almost halfway through the year, so the time is now. Some of the most obvious things that you need to ask yourself if you're considering a career or a coaching business is truly just looking at, like, if you know someone who is stressed out, who's overworked, who's underpaid, who's going through a transition, who needs support in any way, that's your sign. If you're here, maybe this resonates with you. I think if you go to the next slide, it kind of lays this out. But the real thing is more people than ever are dissatisfied in their jobs. We are arguably or not in a recession at this time. A lot of people are over it. They're sick of it. We saw a couple years ago in the Great Resignation, some 40 million people leaving their jobs. And at that point, the coaching industry boomed. And now that we've come kind of out of that and people are still trying in this phase of rediscovery, and what do I do with my life? And is this thing that I, quit my job or job I took, is this working for me now? And what we've noticed in the coaching industry, especially this year, is another phase of reevaluation. Some of it's political, some of it's economical, all of it is interconnected. But the general consensus is that people are exponentially less happy and less content with their lives than they were in the past, which leads us to the next slide and the impact this has had on the personal development industries. Coaching is projected to reach 7.3 billion globally by the end of 2025. And I want to kind of open it up to you, V, because you've been on this journey and part of the IGC school family for over 5 years now. You joined us during the pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, like Liv said, I joined IGC right at the start of the pandemic. I was in training October 2019. So that was when it was starting to get really bad in China. And when we got word of it moving and making its way into the US by March 2020, I just graduated at that point and the world shut down. And interesting enough, at that same time, the entire coaching industry boomed because there are more folks who were needing more support. There were more folks who wanted to reach out and actually just get in contact with people and communicate with folks, but they didn't necessarily want to go through therapy because they didn't need that per se. They didn't need a counselor, and consulting didn't make sense because a lot of these folks didn't have businesses. They just had goals they want to achieve, right? So at this time, people were looking for ways to either start a new side hustle, start a new business, a new hobby, just achieve some goals they may not have because they were stuck in the house. And it contributed to this massive increase of a demand in coaching, not just when it came to people, but also corporations to retain their employees, nonprofits who are working with different target audiences and want to help develop their communities, and overall just people who really want to dive into their own personal development. And on a marketing end, it has not slowed down. It is now at a $7.2 billion industry as of the end of this year. So it's wild.
Yeah. And it's crazy because people I've often heard comment on there are certain industries that are recession proof. And I have joked around before, like childcare is one of them. Like our kids are always going to need somewhere to go, especially with working women. That is a recession proof industry. Personal development and people's desire to grow, even amidst things happening in the world, never goes away. In fact, it has shown again and again to increase. And V, you brought up a good point too. We have seen more than ever a lot of our students and graduates also getting corporate and organizational coaching contracts. And a lot of companies are now putting a lot more time, money, energy, and effort into retaining their employees and even adding coaching packages. In fact, a lot of our students are now asking their employers to pay for their coach training. We actually have an entire packet set up for students who potentially want to do this. If you're interested in that, if you go to innerglowcircle.com/call, you can apply, you can request our employee reimbursement letter that we have. We have a stat sheet on how coaching will improve organizations. If you want to get your employer to pay for something like this, the market is absolutely trending in this direction. And I like that because I love that you need a PCC credential, which is an ICF credential to be able to do that, which ensures excellence if you pass that. And also it's just another income generating opportunity, and quite often a very high income generating opportunity. V also coached with Apple for quite a while, so she knows the ins and outs of landing some of these gigs.
I mean, it's so funny. When I got that gig, I quite literally applied for it on LinkedIn, believe it or not. And it was like through the lens of going in as a creative pro. And for those who don't know me, like I have a whole background in music business and creative marketing, et cetera. And so when I got that position, it kind of tied my coaching and my understanding for music production, audio engineering together. And what's neat is that you can go into this industry in your niche and really get greater to find, whether it be a corporate position, something that's in your business, something that is tied to organizational work. You can really do whatever you want with it. You just need the credential and that certification to make it happen.
I had a student the other day tell me that she has, in the last 3 months, coached 68 clients as a career coach. And this is with another agency. And I'm not going to mention them here, but definitely if you are curious for our list of places that hire credentialed coaches, please apply for a call. We're happy to give you all of that. But the demand is growing. And if you have been navigating or exploring coaching and now you're starting to get ads for all type of coaching things, you've probably seen a lot of this. And I want to bring up this part too, like millions are seeking coaching. Very few are finding qualified credentialed coaches. We can move on to the next one because this is really, really key. The average coach, this is the ICF, the International Coach Federation, who's the main regulating body of the coaching industry, which is typically unregulated or less regulated. They do a ton of research, which is really helpful here. Now, some people who have been exploring the coaching industry for a while, they're probably like, oh, but there's so many coaches. And I heard a lot of coaching businesses fail. A lot of coaching businesses do fail when they are not actually coaches that are in demand. And one thing that almost guarantees demand is having a credential. And that is on the next slide. I'm not going to get there yet, but it's going to show you what percentage of credentialed coaches are actually getting hired, which is drastically different than uncredentialed people on the internet who are putting coach as their title. And again, people will say you don't need to be training, you don't need a credential. Of course, you can absolutely go out there on your own with no training or anything. But if you really want to have a lucrative career with a lot of possibility, it is somewhat a saturated business. There's a lot of people going into coaching, going into personal development. That's why the industry's growing. Not everyone maintains sustainable success unless they're actually really excellent at what they do. They have professional development and support, and they know how to monetize those skills. So as you can see here in this ICF research, average hourly rate for a credentialed coach is $244 an hour. The average number of clients they have is 12. You can see the math here. These are for credentialed coaches. We don't even have data on uncredentialed coaches because no one's collecting it, I guess. I mean, you can probably Google something and figure things out, but it doesn't really matter. Like if you are serious about coaching, if you're serious about monetizing your skills, you need to have this credential in the current marketplace. And keep going. And this is exactly why. So 87% of humans who are actually willing to pay for coaching will only hire a credentialed coach. That's the thing. So whether you're certified or credentialed, being on that path is going to greatly increase your chances of being taken seriously as not just another person with coach in their Instagram bio. Okay. So people who will actually pay. You may want to coach people and have this desire to do something, but people who will be actually pay, will actually hire you, typically want to have someone who's credentialed. And 91% of credentialed coaches, so once you get that credential, they actively are working with paying clients. And in our latest IGC research, the average full credentialed coach is charging $300 per session, which you can see is above the international average. So those are just some stats that you need to know going into or midway through 2025. If you have been thinking about this, it no longer works just to freestyle it in the coaching or professional or personal development industries. You need a plan and you need to be taken seriously to stand out. Now, you're going to see many people who are marketers essentially saying that, oh, all you have to do is put together an offer. All you have to do is put together an offer. I will die on a hill that is not enough.
Please, it's not enough.
No, don't get sold into something like that.
The phrase "make it and people will come." Oh my God. The way Instagram works nowadays, good grief. You got to put in the work, honey.
Yeah. And it leads us to kind of the next part of this, which is really where I want you to kind of take the lead too, V, is because as you can read these numbers while we're chatting and laying up the next section, but like you need to nail down a niche and you need to be really, really great at what you do in order to get hired and to make this sustainable. And we teach this in IGC, and you like, I would say 10 years ago, you could probably find videos of me and Katie when we first started IGC saying like, you don't really need a niche. You didn't. There quite frankly weren't as many people offering professional coaching services as there are now. So it has to be really clear who you are and who you serve. Again, things that we teach and in training. And if you're new to the IGC Coaching School channel, or you are new to watching some of our content, like our programs are laid out to teach you the excellence of coaching, all of the coaching skills. And we're the only company in the world, or the only school in the world, where just as much as we teach you coaching, we teach you business development. And that's where V and the rest of our business coaches really come in too. So I'm going to zip it and hand it over to you because I feel like this is really important and definitely a shift in what we have taught over the years, the importance of nailing down your niche and really being able to create an offer that people are willing to pay for.
Absolutely. So how to actually make money as a certified coach. And so as Liv was saying, it is so important to not only know your niche, but know how you overall are going to stand out in your community, in your industry, to become that go-to coach that people want to hire for that said niche. And yes, especially now, you quote unquote don't need a niche, but when you are first starting out, you have to take the time to really dive deep into what you do and what your expertise is in order to build up that reputation that you are that person. So a niche overall is ensuring that your education, your personal interest, and professional experiences overall inform how you solve a problem that people actually have. That's so important. A problem that people actually have, that you know that if you come into the picture, you can guide them to solving that and having them reach their goal that they want to achieve when it comes to said problem. So the top most profitable coaching niches with examples, because this is important, right, are business coaching, life coaching, executive coaching, relationship coaching, career coaching, and health and wellness coaching. So I'm going to, y'all can read these on the screen. I'm going to say one of them. So I am a business coach, right? So I'm going to tap into that. This example specifically says systems and scalability coaching for online business owners. Their I help statement, and this is something that we go through within the ICC coaching school. One of the first lessons we have is actually helping our students build their I help statements. This specific I help statement is, I help busy solopreneurs implement systems so they can scale without burning out. The key piece in that when building this for folks who are taking notes right now is I help blank, so that blank is busy solopreneurs, implement or do blank systems so they can scale without blank or with blank.
Yeah.
So there is the I help, there is the overall thing that you're helping them do, and then what they're trying to achieve. In all of these examples, you see that structured again and again. And as you're building this out, it's going to be really important that you become that person, because when you do decide to pivot, because you will later on in business, it's going to be easier for your folks that you build and you work with over time for them to just follow you with whatever else you do moving forward.
Yeah, thank you for kind of leading the way. And I think the biggest shift or the biggest trend in 2025 around this is the need to be extremely specific, like really getting clear and trusting that this is not leaving people out, but it is calling people in that really resonate, that can self-select and say, that is me. That is what I need help with right now. That is how you stand out. There are so many people who go too broad because they want to help everyone. And trust me, and I've said this a million times, people come and say, oh, so do you teach, like, I want to be exactly this. Like, is there a curriculum around this? Niching is a marketing strategy. You must be able to coach anyone around anything. You need to be able to, as the ICF says, dance in the moment. I spent the first 3 years of my coaching career doing strictly career coaching. My whole thing was I help people who hate their job. This is so corny and I cringe to this day saying it. I help people quit their day job and find their dream job. My whole marketing efforts, again, before, this was during the time of posting very weirdly filtered pictures on Instagram, okay? So I'm a little outdated, but I think I was able to be successful very fast because I was so to the point and it was so obvious what problem my coaching product or my coaching service obviously solved. You have to do this in order for people to say, oh my God, that's me. I need this now. And ultimately build a name for yourself. And all of your content that you're marketing is going to be this same message again and again and again. Always going back to the problem that you help people solve. So again, we used to see inspirational quotes working, a lot of, pretty graphics with words on top of them. Gone are the days. Gone are the days. It's going to take a little bit more or a bit more. I don't think it's more work. I think it's just a different approach to marketing for sure.
Absolutely. And so the easier and the clearer, honestly, you get with your niche, the easier it's going to be to actually sell your offer. It's so funny. I just did a 6-figure strategy session with a student who's in our cohort right now. And something that she said was she had a hard time justifying the price point just because it was for her, it was hard to sell. Right. And I explained to her, I was like, well, look, you're a business owner. It's not just the time that you're using with, your actual client. You run a business, you have things to pay for. We don't just pull them out of thin air to sell to people. These cover our systems. They cover our bills when you're running a business and when you're paying yourself. So with one-on-one coaching, and that is the offer that most people start off with, you start at 150 a session and then you can grow into 300 plus a session. Now, here's the thing. That 150 a session price point is what is typical for folks who have signed up for coach training and they're communicating to people that this is the industry standard for folks who are in training. And once they're done with their certification, they typically up their price point to about 200. When they hit credentials, you're in that 200 to 250 range. For folks who are in PCC, MCC point, that's when you get to the 300 plus session. Now, if those words mean gibberish to you, we will break that down in a completely different opportunity later on, because the
Yeah,
ICF
we have
has,
that video too on our
yes,
channel, the breaking down the ICF credential in less than 5 minutes. Really, really helpful video if you're
yes,
like the IC what, the IGC, the ICF. It's a lot of acronyms, but essentially the ICF is the governing body of coaching. It's who does the credentialing. So if you went to school to be a teacher, like myself, I was a public school teacher for a decade before I got into coaching, which is why our curriculum is so good, because I was an educator.
yep,
I went to college to get my degree in education. And then I went to the New York, at the time, New York Board of Education, and had to do the teacher certification through them. It's similar to that. It's similar to a state board, except of course it's not. It's an international organization. But once you hit that credential, also, like V said, the sky's the limit with pricing. I am not saying you have to charge hundreds and hundreds of dollars, but you do become more in demand. I talked to one of our graduates from a few years ago she does coaching for executives at Spotify. She has increased her rates to over $550 an hour because of the demand. So there is definitely room for growth there. The reason I love the coaching industry so much, and you can package this transferable skill into so many different options, okay? The average coach is probably doing around 70K, I think is what the ICF says, in one-on-one clients alone. But 80% of coaches have more than one offer.
yep.
And 100% of coaches hitting over six figures, I think it's actually 97% of coaches who are hitting over six figures have more than one offer. So we put the top ones here. I know you will probably see ads saying, sell this Amazon journal or sell this little ebook or whatever. As you'll notice, I don't believe in any of that unless you have a massive following. That is not the fastest way to a profitable coaching business. Our number one thing that we teach all of our students is to start with one-on-one coaching. If you can fill your one-on-one coaching practice, you have data, you have information, you have results that then you can scale into another offer. But this just gives you an idea. We pulled these numbers from actual students and actual graduates who have started at certain price points and grown into them. And I don't necessarily need to go into too much detail into who they are, but these are pretty standard.
I grew my coaching business from 0 to 6 figures in 11 months. I did that while I was in coach training. Like, it all happened at the same time. I started August of 2019, and by July of 2020, I had hit that 6-figure mark. It was insane. And I did that through one-on-one coaching. I think I worked with something like 40 one-on-one clients in the span of that time. Mind you, I was insane, but I had one-on-one coaching.
You were, but it's also like you knew what you wanted to do and you had
Yeah.
such a clear vision. And I think that is also something that really helps to be in a learning environment, to have coaches and trainers and mentors pull out of you.
Yep.
Like when you're alone, it's like we get so distracted with all of these different ways to package stuff, or maybe I should be more like them. And like, no, you need to be mentored by people who can pull out your genius. And I think once you nailed it, V, you were just like gone.
Yeah, and it's changed my entire life. I've done a group coaching program. I've had a total of like 60 people inside of my program, the Inclusive Entrepreneur. I've sold courses from anywhere from like a couple $100 to thousands of dollars. I've hosted workshops. I've done retreat. Everything on this at this point I have done. Everything on this. And
I know,
it's
right?
true.
Well, and can we also say that we're both single moms of two?
Yes.
So like,
yes, we are both single parents.
I feel like
of
that's
two.
worth sharing.
Yeah, no, I think, and that's a good point to this. And let me see the next slide, because I feel like that has something to do with that. Okay, yes. To this, and this is why this slide is important, y'all. Both Liv and I are single moms. We are one income households, and we have multiple income streams. So when you are increasing that earning potential and you're able to either do it as a business owner or even in corporate or doing both, I have now done all of these things. It's not just you that you're building this business for. You actually can pass this down to your children. I have a 6-year-old daughter who, because of both Olivia and I at this point, because she's obsessed with Olivia and her name is also Olivia.
Well, her daughter's name is Olivia too, coincidentally.
Yes. Who's named after my best friend, Olivia. She has said multiple times that she wants to be a coach because she watches what we do. She sees work on the computer and then be able to freely move wherever we want to and do other things that involve coaching. So she has an example that is directly tied to how she wants to show up. So I think it's just important that we actually look at the fact that, yes, you can make this kind of money and you can dive into this work in whatever which way you want to.
And it's a transferable skill that, again, it kind of goes back to where the coaching industry has gone in the last few years and is now, is like we see our students getting hired in their business privately. They're getting corporate contracts. They're taking contracts with different Fortune 500 companies or organizations. There's also so many like apps, I don't want to get too specific, but that offer life coaching now, and you can sign up to work for them, especially when you're just building your private clientele. So, and it is more of a lifestyle business. It can be. So like I say all the time, like I'm always working, but I never have to work. And what I mean by that is I'm able to now homeschool my kid, who's probably watching this
He
from his
is.
room right now, because I
Hi,
said it's our
Knox.
first time we're going live on YouTube.
Yes.
And he was very excited. He helps a lot with random things also while doing some schoolwork. But like I'm able to work my business around my life versus put my life in the backseat, which is what I did for years as a public school teacher. And again, I honor the teachers and the therapists and the social workers and the nurses and all of these helping professions. But I think at some point we get to the point where we're like missing our life.
Uh-huh.
And when we surveyed 100 of our students last year, the number one reason that they came to coaching or came to run a coaching business was not for the money, actually. It was just so that they felt like they were doing something meaningful and had freedom in their life. And I know that's such a cliche thing, freedom-based business. Like, I don't even want to hear it again. But at the end of the day, I'm going to run off from this and go help at my other kid's school. And then I'm going to be off Friday so that I can take them up to a cabin. So it really is an opportunity for you to have a little more ownership over your life and whatever it is that you want to do. And I think that's really what we've all realized in the last 5 years too, is like, what is this all for?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is just another example of actual students that, do this work. There's one side that's more simple, that's more introductory, honestly, to what our clients, our students, look at when they first start. One example is a student who had 6 weekly one-on-one clients. That is about $800 a month. And the also developed a course as well. So it's $300 a course. And so they're looking at $7,800 a month, which honestly, like this is such a massive increase in pay for a lot of folks watching this right now. The other side,
and this is part-time.
Yeah.
This is part-time.
Yeah. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Like that's 6 hours guaranteed. That's happening a week. And then there's probably another 6 that you're doing like admin work or checking emails, a couple of extra hours there for marketing. So what you're looking at, a 15 to 20 hour week working wise?
Yeah.
Just for that first option. The second option is a little bit more hours obviously going into it because there's probably more marketing going into this work. But even then, like if they're working with 8 one-on-one clients and supporting a group coaching program, they have the workshop tickets a month. That's probably another additional hour. Course sales happening with support. Like this is easily a 25 to 30 hour work week, and this person's making $11,975 a month off of 25, 30 hours a week. That's still not a
on
full
your schedule.
Yeah.
And hopefully something that you actually love. I think that's also the other thing about it is like, there have been so many times that I have just reminded myself, like, I actually like my work. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm not rushing in a commute every morning to go be, belittled by my boss, which was my reality. Like, and then I realized, why am I driving an hour in DC traffic to go be treated like crap all day and then be depressed when I got home and have no time? Like, that's the other thing. It's like, if you're creating something that you really love, and that kind of goes back to that whole niche thing, like what could you talk about for hours?
Yeah.
And what are you truly passionate about? Because then doing this and, putting in a lot of those marketing hours and business building hours, that is going to be fun for you.
Absolutely. It taps into just, your purpose and your greater will. I love slides like this. And of course, y'all can read on the screen a couple of examples, but our students actually get results. This is not an MLM. No, we do not own your business. We do not own your assets. We do not have an upline. If anything, we probably pay more of our students to bring folks in than anything else. Like we really aren't here to try to sell you.
Well, and those are kind of going
training.
out of style too. I think I've seen a lot of network marketing / MLM companies
Oh yeah, I mean, in the
out the
last
door.
couple of years, well, because the government has just really cracked down on that, honestly, especially when it comes to just how you can even sell and promote things. Again, another conversation for another video and live, but yeah, like this is not an MLM, y'all. Like this is a business model that requires a certification and credential for you to be the best version of yourself. Yes, you do not have to get certified to be a coach, but for the folks who do, they are actually seeing real results and they're actually sustaining themselves from building a business.
Yeah. I think that the differentiator here is like there's people who want to dabble, they want to try out coaching and see if it works. They're going to quickly realize that, maybe they'll get a few clients, but it's not sustainable and they always feel like they're hustling. They're on the hamster wheel of feast or famine. It's a never-ending thing. If you want a stable business or career, like I know you said don't say legit because it's a weird word, but like if you want to be respected in the industry and have a long-term business, it does take a higher level of commitment.
Yeah.
It just does.
Yeah.
If someone's telling you that you can like buy some course for $200 and make 6 figures a year, there may be some outliers that do, but that is not typical.
Oh my God. If you are a digital marketing girly, and I'm not talking about a digital marketing girly who got her degree in marketing from school. If you're a digital marketing girly and you're watching this and you bought a $400 course and felt burned because you weren't able to basically pop into it, I feel for you so heavily. And this is why you should get into coaching. This is why you should get into this work, because this is actually real. This is your brain to go in and have an impact on people. That has been like the rage and bane of my existence, watching that happen.
Yeah.
Over the last year.
It is frustrating. It is frustrating to see because when people do work really well in IGC, like you are mentored, you have practicum hours, like again, it's like a college course where you actually get a certificate at the end that proves that you are good. You cannot pass if you don't do a great job, because at the end of the day, any product or service that is actually crap won't be sustainable. Like you have to be really, really good at what you do. That is your number one asset as a marketer. And also, if you don't feel really, really good about what you do, it's going to show up in your marketing. It's going to show up in your sales calls. People are not going to buy it, literally, energetically or financially. They're not going to buy it, right?
Yeah.
So I know we kind of talked a little bit about this. IGC grads have been hired by all these companies and many more. This is a great way to a great branch, or if you will, of your business to do corporate contracts, whether you're doing health coaching inside of a company, or relationship coaching at Match, or executive coaching at Spotify, like one of our students, or creative coaching at Apple, or whatever it may be. These are excellent opportunities to say, you know what, I'm going to use one of our graduates who just got a $90,000 contract with one of these companies up here, part-time, not even for the whole year. So this is just one contract, and also takes one-on-one clients on the side, has a podcast. Like it's a way to package your coaching skills very lucratively. And again, I know PCC was a requirement for that size contract. You're not going to get a contract like that without either a connection or a credential.
Yeah. And then just some
there's some proof of it.
Yes. Like I sent you that very long text after I got that job at Apple. So
yes, years ago. So good. Awesome. In summary, number one is you need a credential to stand out. It pretty much, I think I said at the beginning, guarantees your success. 91% is not a guarantee, but it's a lot better than the less than 10% who that is an actual stat of people who go through DIY courses or non-live courses for growing their business. There's a less than 10% success rate. IGC, we have over 90% of students getting hired while in training, which is exactly aligned to the ICF research that shows 91% of credentialed coaches are actively taking paying clients. Yep. So again, now, if you don't show up to class or if you don't show up for your business, I'm not guaranteeing you any success. But also in IGC, we have a get hired guarantee, which means if you do show up, if you do everything and don't get hired, I will work with you personally until you do. Like we know that this works and global research shows that it does. You just have to want it. You have to have that passion for it. So there's that. You have to have a solid niche. You have to know exactly how you're going to help people. I think V alluded to this. but you may change that over the years. But like, what can you help with now? And the exact next step that you need to do is ask yourself, like, how many clients could you actually make space for in the next month? That's what you need to get started. So if you know that you're hustling in a 9 to 5, or maybe you're a teacher and you know you have the summer off, like, how many clients could you actually fit in your schedule? Say they're meeting with you for 1 hour a week. How many extra hours a week do you have? I know when I was first starting, had 8 hours. That's why I have a video on here actually that shows how to run your coaching business in just 10 hours a week or 2 hours a day. That's pretty much what I was doing at first. And I wanted 8 clients. I knew if I could get 8 clients, I could quit my teaching job with no problem whatsoever. So until I had those 8 clients, I blocked off those 8 hours on my calendar and I was hustling in my business. I was reaching out to people. I was creating marketing content. I was going to networking events. I was getting my name out there as a career coach until all of those 8 hours were filled with clients. Quit my job in DC as a public school teacher. And here we are. But that's what you need to ask yourself in order to get started. And obviously, the next thing you need to do, if you know that you want to do this, you need to apply to get on a call with one of our admissions advisors. Of course, they are going to talk to you about how to enroll, but the first thing they're going to do is make sure that this is the right thing for you. They're going to ask you a bunch of questions. They're going to make sure your vision is aligned with what we actually teach. We don't want anyone to go through training that doesn't really want a coaching business or doesn't want a career in coaching. We want the right people in here. We keep our student success rate really high by getting the right students in the program. So if any of this resonated with you and you know you want to get into the coaching industry this year, go to innerglowcircle.com/call. You can fill out an application to get on a call and they will text you right after and confirm if it's a good fit. And we can go from there. But the coaching industry is just not something that is going to slow down anytime soon. I think if anything, the only shift that I see forthcoming, and probably we're already in the midst of, is the coaching consumer is getting more and more conscious. They are a much more careful buyer. Like I said, we are, whether you agree with me or not, in a recession. People are not just shelling out hundreds, if not thousands of dollars without really thinking it through and making sure that it makes sense for their life, for their goals, for their futures. I thank God for that, actually, because gone are the days where people are just signing up for a different course left and right? They are thinking things through. They want proof. They want evidence. They want statistics. They want actual research that shows that they are putting their money into something that is going to work.
We'll update the description and have all the links mentioned for y'all so you can access things pretty quickly. I'll have a link as well when it comes to just a consultation with me if you want to book one, and some just key podcast episodes that Liv has in there also, so you can learn more about how we even got to this point in the first place in business. We have a lot of free resources that folks can start using now to start building. And like Liv said, if you are really thinking about going into coaching and you want to build a business sustainably with support from other women, non-men, femmes, etc., folks who are in this space who are working their tail off to build a business and really just want to do it with, folks who have been doing it for years as well, IGC is the place for you. And just because we were made for women by women, we are open to all. So
oh, thank you for keeping us politically correct at all times. But yeah, the next thing you want to do is apply. So go to innerglowcircle.com/call. We will update all the links so you have all the resources. Do your own research. I highly recommend it before you even book a call with our team. You want to make sure that you are up to date on the coaching industry and you have a clear path forward, and then hop on a call with us and we'll make sure it's personalized for your next steps.
Yeah, that's absolutely. That is it.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thank y'all for being here. Thank you for being here, Liv.